got some other chests here that I can spin a little bit later. But let's get going on some pack cracking. See what we get. Wish me luck. You notice off to the right hand side of the screen here I've got my luck sack. Hopefully bringing me some good luck. Here we go. Alright, I'm going to hang off on the rare here. Not quite going to crack the rare yet. Let's look at what we've got in the pack. As far as commons, we have a 1/1 lethal. Lethal is an ability that any amount of damage this troop deals is fatal. So, if I got a 1/1 here and I'm dealing it to a 10/10, doesn't matter, it's fatal. Which is fantastic. So, it's a nice little common there in blood. Spam bot stands for Self-Programming Autonomous Mechanism. SPAM, and at the start of your turn, it's an interesting word choice. Choose one at random. I'll tell you why here in a second, but at the start of your turn, choose one at random. This gets +1/+0, or this gets +0/+1. They've taken out words like permanent because if it will imply permanency if it does not say until end of turn. So that is the permanent piece of it. Now, the reason it says choose one at random is because the way that the game recognizes what the cards do, instead of programming each individual card, that way they can load, instead of programming each individual card, they script it. I talked to Data Dragon about it, and so basically some of that word choice is so that the computer can recognize for anyone to do a certain thing. Doesn't matter if it's this card or if it's a card 10 sets in the future. So that choose one at random, it is kind of a weird word choice there, but that's why they do it that way. Oops, I accidentally cracked it. Don't look. Alright, we'll look. Bucktooth Roshi! Alright, this one is a Tunneling 4. Tunneling is a new ability that basically says you can burrow it underground. So you can play it for its tunneling cost, and it puts it underground for that many turns. So in this case, tunneling 4 means it's underground for 4 turns. All right, and then at the start of your turn, you will after the start of your turn, it will gain a counter, and then after that many counters, in this case 4, it will be played immediately. So if it's greater than or equal to 4, it will be played immediately. So the cost to tunnel this is the basic action. In this case, you have to have 1 threshold and 2 resources available, and then you tunnel it. It just happens. It goes underground. It's got a cool little effect. Tunneling 4 here means after 4 turns, it will come up as a 3/3. Now, what are the benefits of tunneling? There are several. Benefit number 1 is you can play it for cheaper. In this case, you're playing it for 2. Yeah, you're going to get it 4 turns later, but you don't have to pay 7 for it. So if you're worried about shard screw or anything like that, you're going to get it 4 turns later. So it's a great thing to do on your second turn. Also, it can't be forced to be discarded. I do believe that it comes out onto the stack. I'm not positive. If it hits the stack, then it can be countered at the time that that it becomes untunneled. But if it does not, I'll have to check into that. If it hits the stack only when it's initially cast to tunnel, then they can't see what you're tunneling, because tunneling is hidden. They can only see that you're tunneling a random card or a blank card per se. They don't know what you're tunneling. So they would either have to guess or just deal with the consequences of it. So I believe that's how it works. It uses the stack when you cast the card to tunnel it, but once you tunnel it, it just happens. It does not get... it does not use the stack, I don't think so. I'll have to clarify that just to double check, but I think that's how it works. Anyway, so this is a Bucktooth Roshi, and the other ability it has is other Shin Hair you control have +2/+2. Now, there are some other cards that have a tunneling effect that will allow you to, based on the number of tunneling counters, this happens. Or if it's tunneled, then another creature gets +X or whatnot because it's tunneled and it's given. So there are other benefits to tunneling other than just casting it cheaper, but it kind of depends on each individual card. So that is the rare for this pack. We're going to continue on with the commons. Neophyte of Zarlox If you remember Zarlox, the Brood Lord, this is a neophyte of Zarlox. Bury the top card of each opposing champion's deck if you exhaust him and gain 1 health for each troop buried this way. It's a 4-cost 1/4 with 2 threshold. Mindcaller is a pretty cool card in Sapphire. It is a human warlock. A lot of humans in this set. This one is a 2/2 for 3, but when it comes into play, choose a card in your hand, and that gets a -1 cost. That's great for making a 5-drop into a 4-drop, and then able to play it during that 4th turn. So that's fantastic. Next is Underground Overdriver. It is a Dwarf Warlock, 1/4 for 3 and 1 Ruby Threshold. Tunneling 4, so that 4 turns like we had mentioned earlier. Costs 2 to tunnel it. If this entered play this turn, it gets 1 shot, X. Target robot you control gets +X, +X. So let's think about some situations in where this might be helpful. You have a robot out currently, or you have a robot in your hand currently, but you know that you will want to play that maybe turn 4 or turn 5. So instead, what you've done, you tunneled this. 4 turns later, this can come into play, and instead of telegraphing to your opponent that you have this ability, you can say, since it gets speed the turn that it tunnels, that it comes, basically surfaces, it becomes untunneled, it surfaces, so it's going to have speed as soon as it surfaces, and that works with all tunneling cards that way. It hides this ability, so no matter what, it's going to get that because it's coming into play. Whether it's coming into play normal or becoming untunneled, it's coming into play no matter what. But the difference is, maybe you want to get that robot out first, so that with the Underground Overdriver here, when it becomes untunneled, you're able to use that 1-shot ability for X, in this case, giving a robot you control +X. But so now not only are you able to attack with a 1/4 with its 1-shot ability, but maybe you've got a robot in play that you also are getting ready to attack with. Had you played this during, say, turn 3 instead, and you played a robot during turn 2, that's also a way to go about it. But at that point, the 1-shot ability, you can't use it that turn. You could still use it later on, but you can't use it that turn as this surprise effect, because obviously turn 2 you'd have 2 resources, turn 3 you'd have 3 resources. You've got nothing to use for the X cost on this 1-shot. So there are different ways to play it. You can, if you want a blocker out there, you got a 1/4 blocker for 3, and then you still got the 1-shot ability. Not a bad idea. So there are some different ways to play to just add some versatility to your hand and to your deck in general. So let's continue through the commons of this pack. Trick of the Light. Quick action, revert target troop you control. There are a lot of revert cards here. Reversion will be pretty powerful and more common than it was in the last set. Revert target troop you control and then draw a card. So you've got a quick action here. You can revert a troop you control, so it gets around that inner conflict. And notice it says here you control, so you've got to be able to have something that you would like to revert. Here's something else that's pretty cool though. Think about the last card we talked about, Trick of the Light with Underground Overdriver, and this can work with any other 1-shot troop, but we're just going to use these two because they're right next to each other. It's a 1-shot ability giving X, target robot you control gets XX, right? And actually that's not till end of turn, it looks like it's permanent. It's a 1-shot ability, so you Underground Overdriver, give a robot you control, say, 4/4. Then the next turn, if you've got 6 resources available, boom, Trick of the Light, revert your Underground Overdriver. You've got your 1-shot ability back. You get that card draw from the Trick of the Light, get that second line there, that card draw, and now you've reverted your Underground Overdriver again. Now it doesn't get tunneling 4, you don't revert it back underground, you're just reverting it back to what the card state is here, which is having that 1-shot ability back, and now you can repump that robot, or maybe another robot, permanently to get an additional +X. Pretty cool. So reverting can be really powerful, especially with some more 1-shot abilities that are out there. Alright, Kraken Guard Z-Priest is the next common. Inspire, Human Cleric 2/2 for 3, and it's in the diamond with 1 diamond threshold. It inspires to add another troop with cost equal to or greater than this troop's cost. When another, it's an inspire. If you know an inspire, how it works is as long as it's got the same cost or higher, so 3 or higher, then it will inspire. And in this case, it inspires to give +0, +2. So it's kind of like the 1-drop in the first set, except in this case, instead of getting +0, +1, now you're getting +0, +2. A little bit more expensive, but gives it that nice beefier defense. Sorry for the confusing beginning there, but as long as you can inspire it, as long as it's 3 or greater cost. So in this case, if we inspired, say, the Underfoot Commander, we would be able to do that because it is a cost 3 or greater. Alright, next common, Feeding the Young Ones. This is for you Shin Hair fans. It's a 5 cost blood for 1 threshold. Create 2 Battle Hoppers and put them into play. Deal 1 damage to target troop for each Shin Hair you control. So if you've played other Shin Hair and then you're creating 2 additional Shin Hair and then pow, you pop somebody for 1 damage for each Shin Hair in play. In this case, it's going to be a minimum of 2 damage. You got other Shin Hair in play, you're going to do more than that. So this is a really great card. It is a basic action, so that is the drawback to it. It's still a good card though, and it's a common. If it were a quick action, I think that would probably make it an uncommon, perhaps. Battle Hardened Pa. We got a 1-shot ability here. Each troop in your hand gets +1/+0. It is a Shin Hair warrior. A 2-drop wild, 1 wild threshold, and it's got 2 attack and 1 defense. Crackling Wit. There are additional abilities now that give you charges, give your champion charges. Did not have a lot of those in set 1. You had a Charge Bot, and I want to say that might be it, Charge Bot. I could be wrong, but I think that's it. In set 2, you got a lot of options about getting charges. Every single color has something that'll give a charge. So with Sapphire, you give a charge, and you gain a charge and you draw a card. With Diamond, you gain a charge and you gain life. With Ruby, Crackling Bolt is you deal 3 damage to target creature or player, and you gain a charge. So each one will have its own crackling set. Crackling Boon, Crackling Wit, Crackling Bolt for each color. So that's pretty cool there. Last common of the pack, Mesmeric Hypno-Scientist. It is a Dwarf Mage, 5/2 for 5 with 1 Ruby threshold. Tunneling 3, so it's got that 3-turn tunneling effect, and then you tunnel it for a basic action of 2, basic cost of 2. When it enters play, target troop cannot block this turn. Good stuff. Another way that this would be good as well, you've tunneled it for those 3 turns. Target troop cannot block this turn when it comes into play. It has speed when it comes into play. So if you've been able to lock down the board, then you've got yourself in a good situation. If they only have 1 troop and you're attacking, it doesn't say can't block Mesmeric Hypno-Scientist. It says cannot block this turn, period. It can't block. So you're swinging with maybe 2 other troops. Boom, this guy becomes untunneled. Now you're getting hit in the face with 5 plus 2 other troops. And if you've only got 1 troop out, it can't block any of them. It can't block all 3 of them. So that's a cool little effect for untunneling. Surfacing, I believe, is the appropriate word. Alright, let's get to the uncommons. Underfoot Commander, Shin Hair Warrior. It is a 3/2 for 3, 1 wild threshold. Same tunnel cost of 2, and then it gives it tunneling for 3 turns. When another one of your troops goes underground, if this is underground, that troop gets +1/+1. So in this case, you want to tunnel Underfoot Commander first, and then begin tunneling other cards, so that those other cards get +1/+1. In the case of Underfoot Commander, maybe we tunnel this one first, then we tunnel the Underground Driver, now that becomes a 2/5, and then we also tunnel the Mesmeric Hypno-Scientist, that becomes a 6/3. And if you time them correctly, if you tunnel this, so let's say you tunnel the Underfoot Commander for 3 turns, next turn becomes its turn 1, right? And then you tunnel the Underground Overdriver. That's turn 1 will be the Underfoot Commander's turn 2, so now you've got a 2/5, and then possibly being able to tunnel both, or wait till the next turn. Either way, this is a tunneling 3, but if you are able to tunnel this one turn, the Overdriver 1 turn, the Mesmeric Hypno-Scientist the next turn, now if these 2 will pop at the same time if you tunnel them 1 turn after the other, since one has tunneling 4 and the other is tunneling 3. So in that case, now you've got 2 of them popping out at the same time. You got